Dan Illman, Ashley Mailloux, taking a look at race number 8 at Santa Anita on Saturday. It is the Grade 2 $300,000 Rodeo Drive. These fillies and mares prepping for the Breeders' Cup Filly and Mare Turf. We're going to go 1.25 miles. Let's take a look at this field. The number 2 Annie set has just been super impressive in all 3 of her starts in North America for trainer Leonard Powell. She wowed the fans at Del Mar and the Oaks last time out. Now she has to stretch out a furlong. She has to face older fillies and mares, but boy, does she look good.
Oh, she looks excellent, 3 for 3 in 2023 since coming overseas and joining the Leonard Powell barn. I just think she's fun to watch in terms of, horses that I like. I like those horses that have to make that late move and make things exciting in the end, and that's been her. She's been towards the back of the pack in all 3 of those starts and has made a ton of ground and has this really nice late turn of foot. But as you mentioned, she is going to face some older horses in here. And there's still some very nice mares, Closing Remarks, among others in here that have done very well out in California. So a field of 8, I actually think it's a really good addition of this race.
And a horse with Anisette's running style is going to need a little bit of pace help, and she's going to need a trip. So it's important to check out the Timeform US pace projector for this race. We expect her to be last early, and Turn Her Loose, the number 1, a horse with pretty good tactical speed, should be able to get to the front. The 1, 6, and 4 are far from burners, but they're tactical enough that they're likely going to work out their own trip. I think the pace will be fair to moderate.
I agree. I don't think this is going to be blistering fractions up front. And just based on also the draw here, draw is always so important. And you start to look at horses in here. I mean, Turn Her Loose gets the benefit of the inside draw. Probably can get the lead. I don't want to say easily, but pretty easy overall against this group.
Turn Her Loose has been a long time between drinks for her. She hasn't won since the 2022 Rachel Alexandra on dirt, but maybe, just maybe, she's rounding back into her best form slowly. This race on Saturday will be her 3rd start off of the year. And here's Turn Her Loose's most recent effort, the John C. Maybe, a race where she got up close to the pace. She made the lead in the stretch, and Closing Remarks is going to run her down late. A slight improvement off her seasonal debut.
And at least it was an improvement of sorts, right? She was closer to the pace that helped her. It was going 1.1 miles, though, and now going to have to stretch back out in distance to 1.25 miles. That would be my concern with her. But once again, if there is a situation where she is literally turned loose on the front end, she can set moderate fractions and still at least hang around for a piece.
Here's the wow filly and the likely favorite, the number 2 Annie set, just super in the Del Mar Oaks last time out. She was last on the backstretch. She made an inside bid. She was in behind horses. You saw her alter course sharply back to the rail. And check out this last 3/16 of a mile. She just blows by them. And I think Rispoli's even a little bit surprised. He's looking behind her going, wow, did I get clear that fast?
And she's just so quick. Look at her stride, and she's stretching out. It looks easy, even those final jumps to the wire. And, she's a 3-year-old, but she has kind of done everything that's been asked of her so far, and she's made it look easy. I think she's probably the real deal, and she's just 3 years old. So you wonder what comes from her as an older filly as she develops.
Here's an interesting invader from the Midwest for Judd Mott and Brad Cox. The number 3 is Juncture, the stakes winner, 3 starts back at Lone Star, going 1 mile, 4th most recently at Ellis Park. That was a race that I just not sure really set up for her from a pace standpoint. They were reluctant to stretch her out overseas in England. The one time she ran 1 mile and 1/8, however, she earned a group stakes placing.
I don't love when I look back, she's been favored and, hasn't been able to get the job done several times. And looking back at the race at Horseshoe Indy, I do think she had trouble and couldn't find room. With that said, though, Justify My Love for Paulo Lobo somehow found room up the inside. So maybe she got the short end of the stick on that day. I agree, though. I don't think she necessarily got the setup that she needed last time out. And I think she's, a curious type now, getting actually more ground. She's been at 1.16 miles in several of those last few efforts. Now she's going to go 1.25 miles, which it's been a while since we've even seen her go further than 1.16 miles. She just had that one start at 1.1 miles.
The number 4 Closing Remarks lacks the sizzle, perhaps, that our favorite, the 3-year-old filly Anisette, has. But there's no denying she's in career form right now, and she's very steady and reliable. We saw her win the John C. Maybe last time out over Turn Her Loose. Here's her race 2 starts back in the yellow ribbon, and her tactical speed allowed her to get right up close to the pace. She was able to get into the clear, and once she smells the wire, she knows how to get there first.
And I think that was the key in this race, was getting her a little bit closer at that 1.16 distance. And we look at her, she's doing a straight mile, going a straight mile for a very long time, 1.125, 1.16, and more recently a 1.125. I think the trip really worked to her advantage in that spot. And then to see her stretch out slightly in her following start, I thought she got a really another great trip in that race. And as you said, her form is great right now. I think the big thing is they took that break also between Santa Anita and Del Mar to get her back going.
Stoic Luna, the number 5. What a wonderful claim. They took her for $32,000, 5 starts back. They switched her back to the turf. She's won 3 in a row, including this race at Golden Gate Fields last time out, a little stakes race where for the most part she enjoyed a good trip. She was down inside behind horses. Now it's all about her finding a seam to run at. She's going to get to the outside. She's very game to win. She's in excellent form. She deserves a step up into this class level, but it is a step up.
And it's a big step up. You know, she's going from that race at Golden Gate and now to a grade 2. They're deeper waters. These are more seasoned mares in terms of at least their caliber that she's faced. And I think from a numbers perspective, she does need to improve. But I wonder, in terms of her trip, could she get a good trip in here maybe to get a share? I think a lot's going to have to go her way. And her rivals are going to have troubled trips maybe to get that to work out for her in this spot.
Didia is very dangerous in this race for Nacho Correas. She had a 7-race win streak snapped in the New York last time out. This was on Illman Stakes weekend. And in this race, they just let the speed go. Market segmentation was allowed to control her own pace. Didia was rated just a little bit at the break. She's one of the few that's running on at the end here. She just couldn't make up the tactical advantage that market segmentation created over this field. It was another good performance. Now we've got to deal with a bit of a layoff, and the layoff wasn't by design. She's had some issues. Is Nacho using this race as a pure prep, or is he got to get a good stiff race into the Breeders' Cup, and that's a winning race?
I don't know. It could be a prep for the bigger dance that we all know these mares are looking towards, but she has been pretty sharp off a layoff in the past. We saw that. Now, you mentioned it wasn't by design. Nope, they had, you know, the intentions to run her on Arlington Million Day, and then she did have a slight setback, and I think they made the right decision to regroup, just knowing that she's been able to run off a layoff, whether it was her first start when coming from Argentina over, or, you know, that summer to the following winter, this past winter. She's been sharp as they come, and she did have to go further last time out and go that 1.25 miles, which was a distance she was familiar with, but it was her first time doing that in quite some time. And you mentioned it, market segmentation got the trip, and it was kind of just a battle for the minors at that point. But I still like the way that she ran in the stretch, and I do think she could be very tough here. She's able to even replicate something similar to last time out.
To show how good Anisette is, the number 7 Neige Blanche, her uncoupled stablemate, she's well in her shadow despite winning 10 of 24 as a multiple graded stakes winner, and might just simply appreciate getting back out to 1.25 miles. She seems like a horse that might even want a little longer than that, but 1.25 miles works for her, and it's not like she's some one-run closer. She's pretty tactical.
She's pretty tactical, and we've seen her actually, you know, be able to take field gate to wire one time before if you get it on the page. My question would be, as consistent as she is she truly a grade 2 mare? I'm not sure, especially in her last 2 efforts. She's needed more, and she faced lesser, certainly 2 starts back when she failed as the favorite. But, you know, she is very strong, though, also at 1.25 miles. But as you've said, she's kind of now in the shadow of her stablemate.
Symphony Perfect stretched out to 1 3/8 miles last time out, and she didn't have the cleanest trip in the CTT and TOC stakes. She's been mostly a middle distance horse and a sprinter for the majority of her career. Maybe she's found new life going 2 turns. I need to see it against this tough group.
And I'm waiting to see it. I actually think she's an intriguing type, but I haven't seen it yet. So I think a lot of that's going to depend how she runs in this spot. I didn't mind her effort last time out at 1 3/8 miles, but as you mentioned, she had a couple of issues, nothing super drastic. But I'm just curious to see. She might be a type that's developing. I think this might be, I don't want to say a little bit too soon, but this is a test, and we'll see where she comes from here and maybe regroups and finds a spot that is better suited for her.
We'll find out how good Anisette is, and we'll find out who we like in the Rodeo Drive as we take a look at our top selections for the race. Didia, I can see it coming off the layoff. She's run some fast races. Distance isn't going to be an issue. She's very tactical and should be fresh.
We've mentioned she should be fresh. Whether she's ready to roll off the layoff, we're not necessarily sure. But I think just her class alone and what we've seen, she could be very, very tough against this group.
Anisette's, I think, the horse to beat, but closing remarks is very solid. And the fact that she's as tactical as your top pick might allow her to get the jump on the favorite turning into the stretch. And she does have the recency advantage over Didia. She might actually be the third choice in this race, considering her good form. Be a fun race. We'll find out how good Anisette is. She looks good so far. 6-2-4-1 for Ashley, 4-2-5-1 for me in the Rodeo Drive. Good luck.